All right. Well, once again, good evening, seniors and senior families. We're so excited to welcome you into our auditorium tonight for our class of 2022 College Application Information Night. My name is Ryan Van Kampen, and I'm the Director of Counseling here at Waubonsie Valley. And tonight, my staff is going to share some great information with you about the next stages of your educational journey. This is always one of our favorite presentations of the year because it really is starting to empower you and your students to take that next step and take control of their educational journey. If you think about the last 12 years, a lot of that path has been dictated for you in terms of a set path of what schools you're going to go to, what classes you have to take in order to meet graduation requirements. And really, when we get to the start of senior year, you're kind of starting to reflect on everything that you've done up until this point and how it's prepared you to start making some of those choices for your own future. This is the first time where you have really a sense of control over what school you're going to go to next year, and also what you're going to study, or even what type of school, whether you're looking at a 2-year school, a 4-year school, a trade school, whether you're thinking about enlisting in the military or an apprenticeship program to continue on your post-secondary education. And I know sometimes having all of those choices is really exciting, but it can also be really nerve-wracking for our students and for our parents as you turn over some of that control. So tonight we really want to cover a lot of topics, from the basic procedural things to maybe some helpful tips that our counselors have seen in their experiences over their career so far to help ease some of those nerves that you have and really have you ready for when we start sending transcripts next week. So if you are here, we encourage you just really tune into the presentation. If you want to take notes, go right ahead and do that, but we will post tonight's slides on our website along with a video recording so you can tune back in and catch up on anything you missed. We'll also, on our counseling department website, we'll have some tutorials that go into the technical processes of, for example, linking your Common App and your SchooLinks account to how do you actually request your transcripts if you need those video tutorials to go along with the instructions tonight. So I'm going to hand the mic over to our first presenter, my colleague, Ms. Tanya Lewis-Rogers, who serves students in the Spirit House.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Lewis-Rogers. I have the students with the last names M through OR. For the class of 22, the profile, the class size is 667. The top GPA is 4.75. These are the things that we look for when you're completing your Common App. So in the 95th percentile, you have a 4.48 GPA. 90 is 4.36. 75th, 4.02. 50th is a 3.53. From our class of 2021, those that attended 4-year colleges were 68% of the students, 2-year colleges 25%, 2% went to the military, and 5% had other plans. So the top enrollment universities for the Waubonsie's class of 2021, COD was the top school. This data is data that pretty much doesn't differ from our previous year's data. Those are the top 10 colleges and universities that our students have been attending for at least the last 5 years.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Mr. Walker. I'm in the Warrior House. I'm the new guy around. So many of you, if I have you, I haven't met you yet. But I have all the last names of S, and I'm going to talk quickly about the roles and responsibilities. There are all of us that are involved in this process, and we all play a different role, and we want to make it clear what we would like to expect that students have on their plate, as well as you as parents, and then us as teachers and counselors as well. That's the wrong direction. So as a student, what we are asking of you and what we expect is that you kind of take charge of this process. This is your future. These are your decisions on where you want to go. It's a family decision overall, but this is where you're going to end up for potentially the next 4 years or more. So we'd like you to be involved and dive into the application process. We want you to initiate contact with counselors and teachers, complete the college applications yourself, write your essays, as well as complete letter of rec forms. Along with this goes the research into the schools. A lot of schools will follow a similar template, but they all have unique things about them that make that admission process a little bit different than the next school. So we encourage you to attend college visits, whether they're virtual or in person, so you can get a feel of what that school is like. Look up admission requirements, search for scholarships, and pay attention to deadlines. We are obviously here to help you in that process, but the more research you do, it makes the process a little bit easier and a little bit smoother. As a parent, this is probably the hardest thing I'm going to ask of you, is to try and step back and let the student take charge. We want you to be involved. Obviously, this is a family decision, but if the student is invested, they're going to be the ones that are pushed to do the research themselves and really prepare for what they're about to engage in the next coming years. So we want you to support but hold students accountable, have open conversations about a college fit. Everybody has expectations of what they want. Sometimes what they want isn't necessarily the best fit, and we'll talk about the things that go into that as well that might be best for your student. Be upfront about college finances, and then be aware of approaching deadlines. Again, a lot of common themes throughout the deadlines, but some of them differ depending on the school. So it's important to do the research and be aware of when things are coming up. School counselors, what do? We basically take care of all the paperwork. We're here to talk about the ins and outs of the decisions, help you discover the fit that might be best for you. But really, we are in charge of sending transcripts to the schools, handing out the letters of rec, navigating all that, filling out the counselor forms, and assisting with common application. We're also available for student appointments in order to help students determine that college, or what college is the best fit for them, as well as facilitating college and career visits and provide general scholarship and financial aid information. We are not financial planners. That is not what we have been taught and educated to do. We can give you a general outline of things that might be helpful, but the details of what comes down to that, there are other professionals that we can refer you to get assistance with that. And then last is Waubonsie teachers. They are responsible for writing letters of recommendation upon request. Okay, so this is where the students take charge. Ask your teachers. I used to be a teacher, and the worst thing that happened to me was I had a student request a letter the day of because the deadline was the next day. I taught math. We gave a test. I had a lot to do that night. So please try and give your teachers a heads up. Give them some time. If you know when the deadline is, ask them 2 weeks in advance. Be very helpful. Makes everybody a little bit happier, and then the process is a little bit smoother. They can also be an informal mentor and share personal experiences about college. We all hold degrees in one way or another. Ask what our experience was. We'd be glad to share it with you and talk about it. Take advantage of the ARC Center and Tribe Time for essay support if you need help writing and getting things figured out. Those resources are available. And ask me about my experience at blank university. Again, talk to your teachers, talk to the staff in the building. They would be very excited to talk to you. College admission staffs. Once everything is finished, the entire process is complete, this is where the decisions get made. So every admission office handles things a little bit differently. They collect all the documents, they review the applications, and then they will make their final decision and let you know and communicate what their decision is, hopefully good news, and then we go through the process from there. And now I'm going to hand it off to Ms. Sane, who's going to talk about targeting the right fit.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We're so excited to be here. It's been almost 2 years since we have this presentation, so we're very excited to have you in person. So I'm going to go over the targeting the right fit, looking at these 3 circles here. Of course, academic, looking at schools if they have your major, and also, is this the right fit for you? The student body, in terms of academically, do you fit in the school, right? Personal fit, are you gonna want to go really far away or close? Do you wanna go, to a school that's small, large? This one, I wanna share something about my son who just graduated. I just sent him off to college last week. So all my coworker knows I'm still trying to get over it, but we were talking about, last year applying, and he said, Mom, Dad, I think I'm gonna apply to California school, Florida school. So I'm looking at him, I say, oh my God, this is a surprise to me, right? Mind you, this is my son, who's a homebody, right? Who loves to, on the weekends, play board games with us, spend time with us, and always with us. So shock to me, he wants to apply to far, far away schools. So as a mom, I'm like, okay, this is a new thing. But I said, okay. I told my husband, okay, let him apply, and also, keep in mind to apply to the Midwest schools, schools that we talked about before, right? So he applied and he got in, and guess what? Where did he decide to go? Midwest, somewhere close, right? Because he said, I want to be away, but yet, if I'm lonely, I need you, I can drive back home. That's my son. So that's about personal fit, right? Knowing yourself and how comfortable you are, where you're at, where you're applying. So again, he was deciding 2 schools, but UIC and SIUE. So SIUE is 4 hours away, right? UIC is an hour away. And knowing us, knowing as a family, he said he chose SIUE. It's 4 hours away, Mom. You're not going to drop by every time you want to see me, right? So you guys laugh now, but letting go is hard. So the other thing is finance. We sat him down, using my son again, sat him down. This is the amount of money that we can afford for you. So you look at schools that reach that in this budget, or you can try to find scholarships, or you can take out a loan. But this is the amount that we set aside for you. There's 2 other kids that have to pay college for, right? So we talked, and that's kind of complete the circle. Academic fit, personal fit, financially, are you able to afford it? So finding the academic fit, as I said, how do you compare to yourself to other students? Are you on the top 50%? Are you below the 50% getting in? Do you feel confident enough to be here and to do well? Okay? I believe totally with over 3,000 schools, there's a school for you, right? So, does this school have my major? I know that my colleague one time told us in this presentation that he had a student that applied to a school that doesn't have her major. That's her dream school. That's the only school that she thought she's gonna go to. She applied, she got in, but then doesn't have her major. Okay, but lucky for her, she was early enough to apply to other schools. So it's really important that you do the research to make sure they have your major and the minor that you want, and then also look at internship opportunity. So going over safety, target, and reach schools. Safety schools is students is academically above the middle 50 percentile. So this is where you're probably going to get in. 90 to 100% getting in. That's why it's called safety. Then the target is where you're on the 50% percentile, meeting it, probably going to get in. And then your reach schools. Your reach schools are the Big Ten schools, the Ivy League schools, that you probably be below the middle 50 percentile. Mr. Grasky is going to go over some of these safety targets and reach schools. Sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Grasky. I'm a counselor in the Tradition House. I have alphabet F through H. And I want to talk a little bit. I only have a few slides here, but I'm going to kind of go in depth on them. One of the big things that we get every year is we definitely get students that are looking to go to highly competitive colleges, highly competitive schools. And we get many students in our offices like, what do I have to do? What should I be aiming for? How do I make this happen? So hopefully we can outline some of the things that will help you understand that process and what you need to do. As that first line says, there are no guarantees. I would say when I first started this job 18 years ago, if you had the 4.4 GPA and the 35 ACT, you were pretty much guaranteed to go anywhere you want. That has all really changed now, and we have many students that have the exact same scores. So these colleges and universities get to pick whoever they want. Therefore, there are no guarantees for the selective schools. But we'll talk about how you can try to get in there. All right. When we're talking about highly selective schools, some of the ones that come up are the Ivy Leagues, Northwestern, Stanford, MIT, University of Chicago. Those are a lot of the common ones that come up. Your GPA and ACT scores must fall solidly within those guidelines. So you really are looking, I'll be honest, I know we don't rank students anymore, but you're looking to be in about the top 5% of your class in terms of your GPA, in terms of your grades. That's usually the elite, that's usually who they are targeting. Criteria can change from year to year, and it can also depend highly on factors. What that means is, I always get students say, do you think I'm going to get in? Do you think I'm going to be able to get in this school? It does change from year to year because it's supply and demand. It depends how many students are applying to those schools. It depends how many spots they have open. And that all is going to fluctuate from year to year, so it is impossible to predict. Special factors. When you are looking at special factors, you're trying to find things that are going to make you stand out from other students. All right? A lot of people are going to point out some of the usuals. If you're an extremely good athlete, a very talented musician, if you've won national contests in something, if you're publishing work somewhere, yes, those are some things that can make you stand out. But there are also other ways to do that, which I'm going to talk about as well. But these special factors, you're looking for a hook. You're looking for some way to make you stand out from everyone else that has the same scores as you. And we've gotten this. You know, a student may not even get in if another student with the same profile was admitted previously. I've even seen it where some students have higher scores than another student and they don't get in. It just depends on what they're looking for. All right, this will kind of give a little example of it. You know, just because you have the highest scores in the class, just because you're number one in the class, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything again, okay? Over 80% of the applications are academically qualified. I know me and Ms. Gustafson have worked with a lot of highly competitive schools, and I believe one of the quotes that they said, which really kind of put it into perspective, is if they admitted everyone that was academically eligible, their school would have to be 10 to 20 times the size that it is. They just can't admit everyone. They don't have the room for it. So that's what allows them to be so selective and picky on who they choose. All right, many applicants have perfect GPA, strong performance in AP and honors, amazing extracurriculars. So I know I'm talking about kind of the downfalls. We're not trying to bring down any spirits, but we also want everyone to be realistic on what you're going against when you're looking at these tiers of schools. All right, it is very different in doing so. I'm going to get into it a little bit, I believe, on the next slide, but I do believe one of the important pieces, if your student is looking to go into a highly competitive school, is going to be the essay. All right? The essay is that option for your student to provide some anecdotal information that they cannot find on a transcript, that's not in a test score, that's not in a GPA. That's the part where you're going to get to talk about yourself. That's the part where you're going to get to open a window to them in the type of person that you are. All right, I can kind of give you an example. I know we've talked, I was talking to a Harvard recruiter and, you know, and saying, well, how do you get in? Like, what's the key? And he just starts laughing. He goes, there isn't any. He goes, but it is things that stand out. He goes, sometimes people don't understand the things that really set them apart. You know, one I know that he was talking about, it was a Nebraska pig farmer, and the kid had won national contests as a pig farmer. He's like, I never knew what pig farming was, but we when looked into it, it wasn't the fact that he was winning, it was the passion that he was showing about that. It was the leadership that it was showing. It was showing the amount of time he was devoting outside of school to do this. That is what set him apart. It was different. It was something they hadn't seen before. It was something that allowed him to stand out from everyone else. I know one of them that also came up in an essay one time is I had a student that said, I have no idea what to write about. You know, I don't do anything special. I'm not amazing at anything. I go, well, what do you do every day? He goes, well, I play chess. I said, okay. I said, what do you do after that? He goes, I play more chess. I said, well, what do you do after that? He goes, I teach people how to play chess. He goes, my whole life is chess. I go, that's what you want to write about. He goes, but that's boring. I go, no, that's what sets you apart. That is your passion. That is what gets you up in the morning. That's what makes you different from everyone else. That's what identifies you outside of the school. And he ended up finally writing about it, and it was a very successful essay, but sometimes we overlook some of these special qualities because we don't think other people are going to find them, relevant or amazing. Everyone's trying to be amazing when sometimes we just have to show people who we really are. That can be scary sometimes, and I always tell people too, if you're putting yourself out in the essay, you're showing them who you are as a person, and that college doesn't accept you, I probably wouldn't want to go there then. I want to find a school where they do want me. I want to find a school that does see that in me. So that's just a little bit on that. Going into that, there is also the personal fit. All right, I'm a little biased on this, but I'm going to say, in my opinion, this is the most important piece in your college search. Yes, it has to be a place that has your major. Yes, it has to be a place that you can afford. But overall, it has to be a place that you want to be. It has to be a place that you're going to be comfortable. It has to be an environment that your student wants to be in. It has to be the types of students they want to be around. That is what is going to keep them on campus. That is what is going to keep them successful. It's not GPA, it's not your SAT, it's not how many AP classes you took, it's not the name of the college you go to, it's do you like being there? Are you involved there? Do you look forward to getting up and going to school on that campus every day? All right? When I try to talk with students and they're trying to narrow down where they really want to go, that's really what I hit on. I'm like, what do you like about it? What stands out to you? Students will know within probably 5 or 10 minutes of being on campus if it's a place that they want to be. They just get a feeling. They have a gut feeling. They'll walk on, they'll see the students, and they might be like, you know what? This isn't the place for me. Or they're going to walk in and they're like, wow, I really enjoy that. This is a place that I could see myself going. This is a place that I want to be at. And there's different factors that come involved. Some examples that I've had a student that walked onto Aurora University. And I said, why did you go to Aurora University? He said, the first 7 people that I walked by said hello to me. It was comfortable. It felt warm. It felt like a place that I wanted to be. It was small. I felt like I could be someone there. I felt like I wasn't going to get lost there. I had a student that was able to play football at Illinois State, and he passed that up to go to school at Michigan and not play football. Because he's like, Mr. Grasky, I want to go to Michigan. He goes, I want to go to Big Blue. He goes, that's what I love. He goes, I'm willing to give up football for it. He goes, that's what I want. He goes, I want to be part of that big campus excitement. I want to get up on those weekends and, go to those football games. That's what I want to do. He goes, I'm willing to pass that up. I've had students that have gone to schools that would allow them to play, in athletics. 2 years ago, I had a student go to Stanford, and the main reason they wanted to go to Stanford is because they were on trimesters. It's like I really thought about it. Trimesters is really what I want to do because I get to focus on my classes because I'm taking less at a time. That's going to benefit me. That's really going to work well for me. So it's really finding what is the right fit for your student. I truly do. I know we all get asked a lot, like, what's a good school for my kid, or what's a good school for this? We really don't answer that question because good is different for every single student out there. They have different values. They have, different things that they're looking forward to do. They want to be part of different things. So it's going to be different. So we can't answer that question because what I might think is a good school, your student might hate. Because what I was looking for was much different. So I tell students they need to be really selfish at this time to really think about what is right for me. You get on campus and trust me, you'll know. One real quick thing I know, it is expensive and it is tough, I know, with all the activities and everything that students are doing to get on campus. I am a big fan of virtual visits and doing things like that. But I tell you, if you go to a virtual visit, Minnesota's not showing you that January day where the kids are going through tunnels. They're not. They're showing you a beautiful fall day with all the leaves on the ground, and that's great. But if you're going to go to Minnesota, you might want to go in January, February and see what that's like. Okay? So these are the types of things that, really need to come to play. And I know it's very overwhelming. Somehow the students, they just figure it out. They figure out what's the right place for me. Where am I going to grow as a student and as an individual? Because if you are not tied to that campus, the chances are you're going to end up transferring, no matter what the name of the school is. It's got to be a place that student wants to be. Hello, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Brandy Campbell. I'm one of the school counselors in the Tradition House. I'm here to talk about students with learning differences. So this is reaching out to colleges, finding out what accommodations they can provide to students who might need a little bit of extra support and help throughout their college experience. In each of our guidance offices, we have this book that's called The Guide to Colleges for Students with Learning Differences. Students can come in before and after school during their lunch hour and flip through this book if they're interested in college and want to know if they're able to accommodate whatever maybe disabilities or extra supports that the student might need. Another great resource is the college admissions officers. They are a wealth of information. You can definitely ask them those kind of questions. And then honestly, just a Google search. Type in the name of the college, type in accommodations, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to pull up the name of the department, who you contact, and how you go about requesting accommodations. Mr. Doyle?
So my name is Pat Doyle. I am the counterpart to Ms. Rogers in the Spirit House. I work with students with the last names OS2R. I get the fun slide. I get to talk about money. I get to talk about how we're going to pay for college. It's kind of, it frightens me having a 13-year-old having to think about this in the upcoming years. So finding the right financial fit is the last component to that whole Venn diagram that you saw earlier with the personal fit and the academic fit. What you have to have is an honest conversation with your student. Your student has to have that honest conversation back to you. As a family, you have to think about these questions right here. The first one, what can we afford? Now, obviously, circumstances being what they are for certain families, some are more affluent, some are just trying to go and get by, work multiple jobs, so you have to be real with your student. Let them know from the forefront, this is what we can work with. If you don't want to take out any loans and you're not really sure if you're going to get any grants or scholarships, you have to be upfront. Don't give them too much extra hope that we're going to be able to go ahead and pay for the University of Wisconsin. You'll see that in the next slide or two about how much that's going to cost per year. All right, so have that real conversation and have it now, because this is where they're going to start kind of taking their list that maybe they put together during the course of their first couple of years here with us and really start to kind of whittle it down into what they really want to focus in on, because we don't necessarily see students applying to every school that's on their wish list. That can get expensive in and of itself because application fees are starting to kind of mount more and more. What are we willing to pay? Okay. Do we have college savings? Do we have a 529 that we started when they were this big? Or have we put money away at birthday parties, at religious celebrations? What have we saved in total, or what has our students saved in total to help kind of defer some of the costs that you're going to see? Big question right here. Are you willing to take out loans? Okay, now obviously a student can go ahead and take out a loan to help bridge the gap between what you guys have as savings or what everybody has as savings and how much the total cost is. Some schools will have scholarships that are need-based in what they're looking for. Others are merit-based, which is going to take a look at your GPA, your SAT, ACT, those types of things to dole out any kind of finances that will help kind of offset the costs. So as a parent, are you willing to take out a loan to help bridge whatever other gap there happens to be in terms of the finances? Like it says, obviously, have those conversations now. So, sticker price. You guys have all bought a car. You go up to the dealership, you see a car, you see the sticker price in the window. I'm not willing to pay that, but let me talk to you. How can we go ahead and how can we get the sticker price, the cost that I'm gonna have to pay for this car, down a little bit? This is just a general, just kind of grab of some information from some school websites about how much each different sticker price costs for each different university. So you're looking at your CODs, your Waubonsie community colleges, tuition's about $5,000. I think it came in a little, like $4,100 for COD when I looked earlier today. For some students, that's totally what they want to go ahead and work with. They don't have to worry about room and board because maybe they can stay at home. They just have to worry about tuition, the fees that are associated with some of the classes that they're taking, and then obviously the transportation. So some students will go ahead and start at COD, do their 2 years there, transfer to a 4-year university to finish up their programming, and then they'll have less in terms of student loans because it is very reasonable to go ahead and find a way to get the $5,000 per year, okay? For students who are looking for more of those in-state schools, the one that we grabbed right there is ISU, go Redbirds. Now it is $15,319 per year for tuition and fees. Tack on, because it's about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes away, room and board, coming in a little over $10,000, you're looking at about $25,000 per year. Obviously, you know, something that for some families, totally manageable. For other families, something that they have to have that honest conversation about, because if you're looking at that, no scholarships in there, over the course of 4 years, you're looking at $100,000, all right? Just got to put those numbers out there. Flagship state schools like U of I, you're going to see $16,866 for the tuition and fees. Tack on an extra $12,000 for room and board. You're coming in at that $28,000. So it doesn't seem like it's that much, but obviously if you're looking at not having any scholarships, that's going to go ahead and be a little off-putting for some individuals as well. This is where the fees start to increase. When you're looking at out-of-state schools, so public schools out of state, we just pulled Western Michigan, $16,646 for the tuition and fees, another $10,832 for room and board. You're looking at about $26,000, which doesn't seem that much in comparison to ISU, but obviously as you go further, then you're having transportation fees like airlines. How much is it going to go ahead and cost to drive there if you're taking your car? Those are things that you have to factor in as well that are not included in these sticker prices. Now you see there's a little extra bullet point down there. And unfortunately, with the Midwest Student Exchange Program, Illinois is currently inactive. So it is a great resource. We need to go and publicize this more with our legislature to get them to get that active status, because with this Midwest Student Exchange Program, think of all of your schools that are in the surrounding area. Wisconsin, Indiana, Kentucky, goes as far west as Kansas, Nebraska. They are all part of this. There's 12 states that I think encompass this entire thing, 2 of which are inactive, 1 does not participate at all. But the nice part about this is when you're looking at some of these schools that are in there, like Kansas State, University of Missouri, Kansas City, some schools that we send students to, they will cap their tuition at a certain amount. Some will only charge state tuition, in-state tuition for that, even though you're technically out of state. Some will go as high as 150% of the in-state tuition. So it may not necessarily be something that is available to you guys as, you know, the class of 2022, but maybe you have younger siblings, maybe you have friends and family that are looking at schools that are like this, that are in this program. If you can advocate for something, it's this to get active again in the state of Illinois. It's just, we feel kind of excluded, unfortunately. Out-of-state flagship schools, so the U of I's, but in other states. University of Wisconsin-Madison, $38,654 and something cents for just tuition. Tack on an extra $12,000, you're talking $50,000 per year for University of Wisconsin. Your private schools, where private schools will differ from public schools. You'll see that sticker price, and we pulled North Central. It's $42,000 for tuition and fees, $11,000 for room and board. You're looking at something comparable to out-of-state public schools, all right? Where private schools will differ from public schools is that private schools will offer you more money in terms of scholarships. They have more finances to pull from than our public schools will. Public schools are federally funded. They don't have much to work with in terms of endowments and things like that, like your private schools will. They have those donors that will always give back, and then they have a plethora of scholarships that you can pull from, or that they can pull from, to defer some of that cost. So you might see this $53,000 for North Central all of a sudden come down to something a little bit more manageable, like $30,000, because you got the presidential scholarship, you got some other scholarships from your programs that you're majoring in. All of a sudden it's something that's even cheaper than our in-state schools like ISU. And then you have your commuter schools like UIC, where if you want to, if you don't want to live on campus, you can obviously take the train, you can get your schedule set up in a way where you are just driving there maybe 3 days a week, and you're just looking at the tuition and fees instead of tuition, fees, room and board. So definitely things to go ahead and take into consideration when you are looking at how much are we willing to pay, how much are we willing to save or needing to save, and what it's going to look like over the course of the next 4 years. So is your college worth the price tag? Now I'm going to pick on Northwestern here for a minute, but then I'm going to come back and tell them why they're great too. take a look at what your student, or you as a student, are looking at a possible job, okay? Does the job prospect and what your potential earn in your first year is gonna be, and how does that set up against how much you're gonna pay per year or total when it comes to the school that you're looking at? So again, debt versus income, right? Northwestern University in teaching. I'm gonna pick on our teachers, I'm gonna pick on Northwestern. Tuition, room, board, fees, all of it all together, $83,000 per year. Anybody lose their lunch seeing that number? Per year, not total, per year, $83,000. Over the course of 4 years, you're looking at $335,000 and some extra, cents over here for 4 years of education. Now, if we have somebody who's going to be a starting teacher, our starting salary is around $43,000. So if we grow our own teachers, big initiative we got going right now, and that person wants to go to Northwestern, be an education major, come back here to Waubonsie and teach, we'll take them back. We'll pay them $43,000 and expect them to pay off all of their fees associated with Northwestern in a little under 8 years with no other bills. No car payment, no cell phone, no rent, no nothing. Their entire check goes to pay off their tuition that they accumulated over the course of 4 years. Now, does that make sense? Not saying anything bad about Northwestern. They are great. They're fantastic. But if your expected family contribution doesn't go and give you those need-based scholarships, you're looking at that big, huge number right there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and dig Northwestern out of the gutter I just put them in. Northwestern operates on need-based scholarships, not merit-based. Get into Northwestern, you're going to have the same merits as everybody else that applies there, okay? What they're going to look at is something on the FAFSA, which we may talk about later, called the expected family contribution. If it costs $83,000, we'll just round up, $84,000 per year, and your expected family contribution, how much you as parents are expected to contribute to your son or daughter's education, is say $20,000, $24,000, they're going to give you a scholarship per year of $60,000. They're going to make you pay what your expected family contribution is. All right? So while I dogged on them and gave them a number like this, time to dig them out of the grave I just put them in. So it is, a good thing that they go and do with that whole need-based scholarship. There are a lot of schools that do that. So sources of financial aid, there are grants. In order to qualify for grants, you're going to have to fill out the FAFSA. FAFSA opens to you on October 1st, okay? It is first come, first serve, and it will use the previous year's tax information. So all the information that you already have, so you have it at your disposal. On or slightly after October 1st, if as a family you decide to fill out the FAFSA, which is also a graduation requirement, unless you fill out the waiver, you can go ahead and start to get information about what you qualify for in terms of grants, if you qualify for grants. It's going to be largely driven by the family income. So those with a lower EFC, the expected family contribution, may find that they're qualifying for more grants than families that have higher EFCs. Also, there is a benefit if you have multiple children in college, because obviously you're pulling from the same finance pool. They're not expecting you to double your paycheck to pay for 2 students in college. So just take the time, as a family decision, to give strong consideration to filling out FAFSA. There is nothing detrimental that will come from it. It is all just in an effort to provide you with more finance opportunities for paying for college, okay? And again, like I said, it is a graduation requirement as of last year's class and moving forward. There are scholarships that are out there that are academic-based. We have scholarships that are going to be posted in SchooLinks, which you'll hear more about, because we used to do Naviance, and when we went into advisory, we talked about Naviance, and then we switched it up on you. Brought you SchooLinks. You'll find out more about that in a minute. There are need-based scholarships, so again, based off of your finances, based off of the EFC, that's going to be something that you'll be able to qualify for. If you are blessed to be an athlete and somebody who's recruited by a Division I or Division II school, they may be able to find some finances in their athletic pool that they can go and give you. If it's D3, NAIA, they're not going to have athletic scholarships, but maybe their coaches will work with their admissions department and say, hey, put some money off to the side. Their grades are pretty good. It may not be what we're going to say is normally what we would give in terms of an athletics or academic scholarship, but I need them on my team and I got to sweeten the deal a little bit. So they'll find ways to do that. And then there's obviously special interest scholarships as well. The last one on there are going to be your loans, the subsidized, unsubsidized, and deferred. So subsidized loans are going to be based off of your income. And during that time that you take those loans out, you are not responsible for paying any interest on them until you drop either below part-time status, you are 6 months removed from dropping below part-time status, which is typically graduation, or if you are deferring and postponing your payments. So during that time, the Department of Education will pay your interest, but anytime that you drop in those three that I just talked about, you'll be in charge of paying the interest as well as the loans will start kicking in and when you have to pay. Unsubsidized loans, anybody can take those out, so regardless of the financial situation, you can go and get those. You will be in charge of paying interest while you have them. So unlike subsidized loans where the Department of Education will swoop in and pay that interest for you, unsubsidized loans, you'll be paying the interest right from the get-go. And think creatively. There's ways to find different things out there. Different finances are always available. You know, if you want to, drive for DoorDash or you want to go Instacart, like there's a way to go ahead and pay for just about anything. It's just you have to think creatively on how you're going to put things aside and how you're going to shift as a family finances around to make this a reality for your student. A couple save the dates and we'll leave this up here. Obviously we're recording this right now, so if you need to come back and refer to anything, this will be available later this week. But save the dates, we have some financial aid workshops and some FAFSA workshops that are going to be available here at Waubonsie, put on by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. So on September 16th, we're going to have a financial aid night where they're going to go over some of the things that you've seen here already and kind of expand upon that. Definitely a good idea to go ahead and at least bring a parent and a student with so that everybody's getting the same information. And then the other one where you can actually bring your W-2s and bring your tax documents with, on October 18th, there's going to be a FAFSA completion workshop headed by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. So they will bring people here, they will sit down with you, they'll walk you through the completion of the FAFSA, you can get that submitted. And it's pretty close to October 1st, so you know that whole first come, first served thing, you'll obviously fall in line with that. And that is, again, another graduation requirement for your student that they can check off that they are done with. If, and I mentioned this before with applications, application fees are real things, but if there is assistance that's needed for that, if your student qualifies for free or reduced lunch or is on a fee waiver, they can get application assistance and free up to 4, I believe it is. So that's another way of getting out of having to fork out that money. Next up is Ms. Ratchet.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mrs. Ratchev. I'm in the Pride House, and I have students with the last names CAN through E. I'm going to be going over some common terminologies that you're going to see when you're in the application process, as well as some general things that are coming down the pipeline for your student and for you seniors out there in terms of transcripts and getting those letters of recommendation and kind of what's coming down the path with that. So these are the terms, the vocabulary terms that you may have heard of already or at least have seen in the application process if you have started it already. There are basically 4 main deadlines that are out there for applications. The most common one that we see is regular admission. Okay, so this is the traditional midwinter deadline, and that's when the colleges will then get back to those students who applied midwinter, usually in the spring as late as April. Okay, so that's like the standard regular admission. Rolling admission is also extremely common. The difference between that is students are submitting applications. It has like a start opening date, and then they just keep on submitting between that date, and there's usually a deadline as well. And a school will get back to them on their decision within, 4 to 6 weeks. So they just keep on rolling out their decisions. So that's very common. You may see that you have an earlier deadline. So the earliest deadline that's out there is October 15th, but November 1st is a very, very popular deadline. So that might already be on your radar. And that is for typically early action or early decision. I'm going to go over the difference between the two. So with early action, students can apply to as many schools early action as they wish. Essentially, it's just putting them into a earlier candidacy pool than those who may be applying rolling or a regular admission. So they apply early fall, let's say November 1st, and they usually hear by early January or sooner. This is not binding. Early decision is binding, and what that means, first of all, is you can only apply to one school early decision, and if you get accepted to that college, you must attend. So you can't apply to multiple schools early decision. If you're applying to a school early decision, this has to be a school that perhaps it's your dream school. Hopefully you've been on campus. Hopefully you've done thorough research, because this is something you have to be very decided on. It comes with paperwork that your parents and your counselor and your student have to discuss before we send off our parts to it. So there's a lot of working parts to this. Not everybody applies early decision, and that's okay. Obviously, it shows a dedication to the school when you are doing early decision, but you don't need to. Definitely do not need to apply early decision. Early action is pretty common here at Waubonsie. The counseling offices are quite busy in October. Okay, so I want to talk about requesting letters of recommendation. And I don't think we've talked about this on previous slides, so I want to make sure I cover other elements to that as well. So your student will probably not need more than 2 letters of recommendations from teachers, maybe 3, and maybe 1 from a counselor as well. This means your seniors do not want to be asking a bunch of teachers for letters of recommendation because you simply won't be able to use them. Also, seniors, you're not going to be able to see the letters of recommendation because those letters are submitted directly through the application process to the college from the teachers or from your counselor. So with that being said, it's not like you're going to get a pile of letters of recommendations and pick your favorites. It just does not work that way. So with that being said, you want to give your teachers enough notice. As Mr. Walker had mentioned, he unfortunately was in a situation where he had to get a letter done in a day. You want to give your teachers ample time to get those done. So if you have not started thinking about who you want to ask, now is a great time to do so. And obviously it could be a teacher you've had in the past. It doesn't have to be this year. But really you're looking for a teacher that has seen perhaps you grow greatly, maybe persevere in a difficult situation. Maybe you've shown leadership and they've seen that. Or maybe they just know you as a human. Those are great people to ask. It's great to have a teacher write you a letter of recommendation if they taught the subject you're going into, but honestly, it's more important that they know you as a person because those are the letters of recommendation that are going to really help you stand out and shine. With that being said, same with your counselors. We often write letters of recommendations for students if that's what they need for their applications. And we also need 2 weeks notice. So really 2 weeks notice is our big push. You want to give us plenty of time. So what that means is if you have an October 15th deadline, you really want to make sure all of your documents, all the things that you've done on your end through SchooLinks, which I'll discuss in a moment here, Common App, you want to make sure it's all done 15 days prior because you want to give counselors 2 weeks prior to get everything in order and make sure you're good to go. Maybe touch base with you if there's something we notice that you still need to take care of. November 1st, obviously October 16th is a good deadline to try to get all your stuff done so that we can all help you do the best you possibly can do. So there is a packet that the counselors have you fill out and a part of your SchooLinks profile, and all of those details and what we need from you will be covered in the senior meetings that we will be doing with you guys starting mid-September. So this is just kind of another visual of those early action deadlines and the timelines of when those typically occur. Like I said, November 1st is a very popular one, so it's November 15th. Sometimes we do see as early as October 15th, but it's never sooner than that. Regular admissions, like I said, kind of in that January timeframe, and then the commitment and deposit is going to be happening in April and May. So a lot of parents have asked in these past couple years, what happened to Naviance? So how many of you guys know Naviance or heard of Naviance before? Yeah, you probably have older siblings, perhaps friends, family. That was our old career planning tool, college planning tool. We have switched gears and have started using SchooLinks. So last year we used SchooLinks, and I actually prefer it. I like it a lot more, but it does all the things that Naviance did, and it actually has some added benefits. So you guys all have access to SchooLinks already. The seniors already can go in there and start utilizing it. So when you guys go into your SSO and you're logged into your school Gmail account or IPSD account, it is actually one of those boxes that's in there. It's the green S. It's a green box with the S in it. So you can go ahead and click on it. You don't have to have an additional login because it just goes through your account. I recommend you take a look as soon as possible if you haven't been in there yet, because there are some really great tools that you can start utilizing now. Hopefully, we did talk to our students about it a couple of years ago, so hopefully this isn't new to them. In there, students can research colleges. They can use the filter, just like Navion's had, where you can put in the different parameters you're looking for, and it will narrow down different college options. What's nice about looking at college information on SchooLinks versus going to each individual college page is every single college on SchooLinks, their page is designed and organized the same way. So I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation when you're trying to find information on like U of I's website, but then you go to ISU's and it's a whole different place, you can't find it, you're wasting time. SchooLinks will eliminate that hassle because everything is designed the same way, it's got all the same subtitles, so once you know how to navigate one page, you can navigate all the others. Another cool thing about SchooLinks is they have virtual tours of colleges. I know we would love for you to be on there on the campus physically, but if you can't make it there in person, you can at least go on those virtual tours, look at those pictures and get an idea. Another thing on SchooLinks is there is a student profile. It actually will build you a resume, which is pretty great. A lot of your counselors will be asking you to complete that profile. Basically, it's like your resume, what you've been involved in, extracurriculars, so that we can use that as part of our letters of recommendation for you. If we have to write a full letter, we also may ask you to fill out a packet as well. All students will be requesting their transcripts through SchooLinks. And so if you're a student or senior, if you have already started a Common App account, then what you're going to do is actually link that Common App account to your SchooLinks account. So all the schools that you've already started in Common App will transfer into SchooLinks. Your counselors at Waubonsie will only be looking at SchooLinks. So this is a very critical step to take. We actually can't even go into Common App anymore if we want to. So SchooLinks is extremely critical. You have to use it. So once we see the schools that you're applying to on there, you'll pop up on our list. We'll see that you are requesting transcripts. We'll see if you need a letter of rec from us, but you still should ask. And that will be the main source that we use. This is also how you will track your applications. It's how we can track your applications to see where you've applied to, what applications you finished, which ones you're still working on. It's where I can look and you can look to see if your teachers have submitted their letters of recommendations for you. So this is going to be a tool that your counselor will go over in depth with your senior in their senior meetings starting in September. There is a tutorial on our website that shows you how to link the Common App account with the SchooLink account. Definitely watch that video because you'll need to do that. And passing it back to Mrs. Campbell.
So Mrs. Campbell again, I'm actually filling in for Mrs. Coleman tonight who couldn't be here. She is a tradition in-house counselor for I through L. So Ms. Ratcher was talking about Common App, and some of you might be wondering, what on earth is Common App? In my mind, Common App is like the Amazon for college applications. It's where you can fill out one application and apply to up to 900 schools. We do not recommend that you apply to 900 schools, but if you so wanted to, this is a place where you could do that without a tremendous amount of effort of having to fill out 900 different applications. So one application submitted to multiple colleges, and it has all of your information. So it has your academic profile, your extracurricular activities, your letters of recommendation, your personal statements, and your essays. This is not the place to get specific, folks. This is not to write the letter that I wanted to go to Duke for my entire life, and then you're sending it to 10 other colleges. So you want to keep the information that's on Common App more general because it's going to many different colleges. You don't want to be talking about how you want to live in California and it's a school in the Midwest. So keep that in mind. Accounts were created when you were juniors, and they will transfer over. And like Ms. Redriff said, they will link, but you have to actually go in and link them. That's not something we can do for you. And there are instructions on how to do that will be shared with you. So personal statements are really important. This is your opportunity to talk and show who you are. The college admissions people want to know what kind of person that they're going to be admitting on their campus. Are they going to get involved? Are they going to bring great atmosphere to the campus? So it's not what your parents think. It's not what your coach thinks. It's not what your teachers think. It's what you think and feel, what's important to you. It's your opportunity to let your personality shine. Really, they should show like areas of interest, accomplishments, achievements, things like that. And it should link to your future in some way. So maybe experiences that link to what you want to do or why you want to maybe major in a specific area, maybe experiences that you've had. I will recommend, we all recommend that you have a trusted adult review it for you. As far as letters of recommendation, I think we've kind of hit you over the head with letters of recommendation. The only two things I'm going to say, ask in person, give 2 weeks notice at least, and then follow up with a thank you. That person is doing you a huge favor, spending time to write that letter for you. So show some appreciation, send them a little thank you note, appreciative of their time. And the other thing is we do have a form for students to fill out that's on the counselor's website, so you can input your information and request those letters of recommendation. All right, Ms. Gustafson.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Gustafson. I'm one of the counselors in the Pride House. I have students with last names A through CAL. So you might be hearing all of the students and thinking that's great, and I still have no idea where to apply. You've told me all this stuff, and I still don't know what to do. So we have some things that are coming up that I think are great opportunities for students to take advantage of. So the College and the Career Center is back this fall. We are very pleased to be back in the building, and our college reps are very pleased to come back into the building to meet with students. So we will be hosting many in-person visits during lunch periods in the College and Career Center, which, as students know, is located in the cafeteria. And most of those are going to be in person, but reps still have the option to do virtual visits as well. So we will be hosting both of those from the College and Career Center. So those will start next Monday, August 30th. In SchooLinks, you will be able to see a list of colleges that are upcoming college visits. Students, we also ask that if you are planning on attending that visit, please sign up in SchooLinks. I'm going to speak as a former college admissions counselor. A lot of times I would go and visit a school and I'd hear, oh, we have 10 students who are ready to meet with you, and I'd get up at the crack of dawn and I'd get there at 7:20 in the morning and there would be no one. So that doesn't feel great, and it doesn't give them a great impression of us here at Waubonsie. So we really encourage students, if you want to go, sign up. Make sure that if you sign up, you show up. Okay, really important, so we're being respectful of their time, especially in this year of COVID. So the other bonus of doing those visits is that a lot of times the reps that come to visit us here at Waubonsie are the people that will be reviewing your application. What better way to make a positive impression, to give that person a face and a name to put with that application? So that's another opportunity that a student has for a really impactful personal contact. Okay, so regional college fairs. The National Association for College Admissions Counseling is doing virtual college fairs throughout the fall. If you Google NACAC, that acronym, you can find information about that. The Illinois Association for College Admissions Counseling also sponsors free virtual college fairs that students can attend. There's some specific dates in September that those will be happening. And then Waubonsie Community College is actually hosting an in-person college fair. slated for October 12th. Those are free. Any student can attend those, and there's typically representatives from both regional and national universities. Finally, some resources online that are available to you. You're hearing us talking about SchooLinks over and over. Kids, you're going to be spending a lot of time in SchooLinks, but it's a great tool, a really awesome resource. But feel free to branch out. collegeboard.com, actstudent.org. College Confidential is another one that I hear really from students that they really like for a little bit more kind of firsthand information from students. So lots of other resources out there. Okay, so what do we do this year? Senior year, very, very important, right? So keep in mind that the last set of grades that colleges will be seeing when students apply is really through the summer, right? So if students took any summer classes, that's the last set of grades, but otherwise if a student did not take summer classes, that last semester or two of junior year. However, that being said, even though if you're applying in the fall, they won't see your grades for senior year, they're gonna see your classes that you're enrolled in senior year, and they're really gonna be taking a close look at the rigor of that curriculum. So they wanna see that students are maintaining rigor in senior year, not just kicking back, putting their heels up, like riding on easy street. We wanna make sure that students are still showing rigor. Some colleges will also ask to see mid-year reports, and that is generally to verify that the student is still performing academically at the same level that they were as either the time that they were admitted from the fall application, or colleges may be using those mid-year grades as the decision-making point for students. So they may have deferred admission and said, hey, we really want to see those 7th semester grades, and we'll make a decision after that. Finally, at the end of the year, students will need to submit a final transcript to the college that they are attending, and that's very important, again, that students are showing that they maintained the rigor throughout the school year. Okay, so other options. Students can certainly retake the ACT or SAT as needed. There are some ACT dates coming up, like October 23rd, and then SAT, there's an October date and November date. The one thing I do want to throw out there, though, is an important point, is due to COVID, last year, the vast majority of colleges were college optional, and most of those have continued that into this current admission cycle. So what does that mean as a student? That means that if I'm feeling awesome about my standardized test scores and I'm applying to a school where I'm really feeling like this is going to be value added for me by submitting this test score, absolutely go ahead and submit that. If you're not feeling as confident about that score, or maybe it's in the lower 50% for that school, you have the option to hold that score back. So we are really in a time period where I think less and less emphasis is being placed on standardized testing. I anticipate, this is just kind of my little opinion, but I anticipate that even after we move through the worst of COVID, I think we're going to see that trend continue. I think this is really the opportunity that colleges are having to kind of move away from standardized testing as a required part of the process. Okay, so college visits, we've hit on those tonight, and I'll hit on those in the next slide, but we have referenced tonight that counselors will be meeting with students individually. So students, please know that we will sit down with every single one of you. Your counselor will meet with you individually to talk through your plan. How can we help you? How can we support you? Okay? So college visits. Colleges are really reaching out to students in very creative ways these days. And COVID really forced colleges to be very creative. I have never seen better or more virtual visit opportunities for students than we have right now. But as Mr. Grasky said, it does not replace actually standing on that campus. So when possible, we really encourage in-person visits. The nice thing about an in-person visit too is you can really have a visit experience that is tailored to your specific needs. So for instance, if I am really interested in the music program and I call ahead, I can set up a visit potentially to sit in on a music class or meet with a professor from that department. Maybe I want to touch base with somebody from financial aid. I can also get a tour when I'm on campus. I can get an admissions presentation. So that's really going to be the way to get some specific, really, really important information about, does this school feel like a good fit for me? Finally, a lot of colleges are offering group visit days. My suspicion is we will not see as many of those this year because we don't necessarily want to have huge groups of people in one place, but some colleges might still use those opportunities to target admitted students or students from specific majors. So it's speaking from former admission days, where we might have had 1,000 prospective students on campus at once, they might target those to being closer to maybe 100 students that are admitted. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Van Kampen.
All right, so just as we follow up, we are so glad that we had so many families here tonight, but we wanted to let you know, parents, that we are going to give the same information to your students this week on Thursday and Friday, where our counselors will be going in pairs to each one of our senior English classes. So they'll be able to get an abbreviated version of this. They'll have opportunities to ask their own questions, and then we'll also give them a little bit more of a hands-on demo of SchooLinks so they know exactly where to go when they're requesting those letters of rec and the college transcripts. This is normally where we would open up for some Q&A, but I know we've kept you here for well over an hour tonight, so you guys at this time will be free to go if you have individual questions. Our counselors will stay around for a little while. I also encourage you, in the email announcement that you guys got, there was a link in there where you could submit your questions. So if you have any questions that you'd like to submit to the counseling team, go ahead and fill that out, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Once again, this will be posted online later this week. So thank you very much, and good luck on your college applications. We'll have our counselors will be kind of up front and in the middle. Thank you.